not two, as many people would guess. There is the center conductor, there is the outer shield, and the inner shield, the inside of the shield. Because of the skin effect, RF travels on the outside of conductors. In a ideal piece of feed line, coax cable, you want your signal to be on the center conductor and on the inside of the shield of equal magnitude or voltage, equal magnitude, but 180 degrees out of phase. The two phases, the two signals 180 degrees out of phase cancel each other out. The coax does not radiate, so all of your power goes up and then out the antenna. Because you have some unbalance there, what happens is that some of the current tries to flow down the outside of the coax, and then that can radiate, and that's most noticeable with RFI in the shack. You get a hot mic, you get interference with your computer, your stereo system, your wife's sewing machine, your TV. You get reports of RF on your audio. You get muffled audio, whatever. So a balun basically chokes off the current that's trying to flow down the outside of the braid, so that it's forced to go on the inside, and you get that balance back 180 degrees out of phase, but equal magnitudes. So the basic purpose of a balun is to do that. A balun can also do an impedance transformation, and we shorthand refer to it as a 4-to-1 balun. It's actually a 4-to-1 impedance transformer built into a balun. Or they can be built for almost any impedance. Can be a 2-to-1, can be a 9-to-1. There's a lot of issues with a lot of them, but 4-to-1, 1-to-1 are the two far and away most common. Un-uns I'm not as familiar with, but again, they'll try to choke off the current that's trying to flow down the outside of the shield. That's basically what baluns do.
So that's why ladder line is preferable, right? So you don't have to deal with
Thanks.
all that.
That was a great brief explanation, clear as the mud in my backyard.
I got it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Nah,
John.
just kidding.
I actually
Just kidding.
understood all that. Thank you. That makes perfect sense.
Okay. I'm sorry. What your question, Jeff, was what?
Well, I was just saying that this is why ladder line is preferred, right? So you don't have to deal with that unbalance.
Well,
You still need a balun.
Most of the, at some point, if you could run all ladder line, yeah, that would be great. But every modern rig needs coax.
Right,
You
right.
can't just connect ladder line to a modern rig.
Mhm.
So at some point, you're going to have to transition to coax from ladder line, and that's where the balun goes. Because yes, you're right, Jeff. If you have a balanced antenna, and ladder line is a balanced feed line, so from the antenna, if you have a typical dipole, from the antenna and then the ladder line, you've got a balanced system all the way down to the bottom of the ladder line, and then that's where the balun goes between the transition from ladder line. The reason ladder line is so much better is because it's much lower loss. Ladder line is virtually lossless. I mean, nothing is lossless, but ladder line has very, very low loss. Loss in coax can get fearsome Um, I think I've talked about that before here, but if you took a 40-meter dipole cut perfectly, try to put it on 20 meters, you're going to see only a 6-to-1 SWR at the end of 100 feet of coax. Um, the loss in it is staggering. Everything is cut perfectly. Your 40-meter dipole at 20 meters, it's a half wave at 40 meters. It's a full wavelength at 20, and the SWR exactly on 20 meters versus 40. SWR is approaches infinity, and the losses in the coax are staggering. You're putting out of your 100 watts going out, you're putting out 6 watts. You only see 6-to-1 in the shack because there's so much loss in the coax. Once the 100 watts leaves the radio, there's only 2 things that can happen to it. It can radiate as signal, or it can get turned into heat. Conservation of energy. You can't create energy. You can't destroy energy. You can only transform energy. So the only 2 things that can happen with that 100 watts is it radiates or it gets turned into heat. And that heat is the loss in the coax. So that's
Great info. Thank you, John.
okay. I could go on and on, but I won't. Further question on that, though?
But John, you're talking about loss, but you also have reflected power you might want to comment on.
Well, if you've got reflected power, assuming that you have assuming you have a tuner, basically the reflected power comes down, goes up. If your antenna is not perfectly matched to the feed line, in other words, if your SWR is not 1-to-1, some of the power is reflected down. The tuner, think of it almost like a mirror. The tuner is a mirror image of at least the impedance, the reactance part of the antenna. It's 180 degrees out of phase. So the signal comes back down the coax, it sees that, and it reflects back up the coax, and minus the loss, it keeps bouncing back and forth, minus loss on every trip up and down until there's essentially nothing left.
So that's how it's tuning it
It's
to an extent.
the tuner is kind of doing 2 things at once. You have the impedance is a combination of resistance and reactance. Resistance is good. Resistance is what radiates your signal. It's what does work. It's just like a resistor. Anything that does work has resistance. Whether it's AC, whether it's DC, whether it's a flashlight bulb or an antenna or anything that does work has resistance. And some of that resistance is good. a good analogy, take an old-fashioned incandescent light bulb. Okay, 100-watt light bulb draws about 1 amp. So that's about 100 watts. Amps times volts is watts. That's about 1 amp. But out of that 100 watts, only about 40% of the energy actually gets turned into light, and about 60% gets turned into heat. You can't touch a 100-watt light bulb. Okay, that's loss. That's very akin to reactance. It's a oversimplification, but that's very, very similar to reactance. So these new compact fluorescence or LED lights are so much more efficient because they're not converting so much of their power to heat. They're producing very little heat comparatively, and so a lot more of the power is same amount of light is produced using a lot more power, using a lot less power rather. Okay, I hope that kind of makes sense, but that was a good analogy somebody told me. Okay, so the reactance is dissipating power. That's loss. It's loss that is not radiating. It's the resistance that radiates. So an antenna at AC, an antenna has both resistance and reactance. An antenna tuner, the first job it does is takes the reactance and tunes it. It puts a 180 degrees out of phase reactance. So if you've got 50 ohms of capacitive reactance in your antenna, it puts 50 ohms of inductive reactance in the tuner, and those two cancel out. And then you've got a pure resistance. And then it also will do a step up, step down to go from 50 ohms to whatever it needs to step it up, step it down to match it to the antenna. It's a gross oversimplification, but it's close enough.
We're probably treading into territory of where I should be studying for my extra. Thanks, John. This is great.
We're probably treading into territory where I'm guessing at a lot of this stuff and making it up as I go along, but
It works.
yeah, but you guys believe it, so that's fine.
Next week, I'm going to ask about tubes. We don't have to get into that now.
Yeah, well,
Tubes are good.
you've already heard me tell you everything I know about tubes. So, so I am not, I don't know anything about tubes.
A lot like a light bulb.
Yeah. Good one, Jim. Jim knows more about tubes than I do. Any more questions on this? Is a good topic, Eric. Actually, thank you.
Jeff.
Jeff, thank you. Any more questions on that? Because there is so much old wives' tales and out and out bullshit out there that on this subject that just aggravate the hell out of me every time I read it. And I will say you guys are going to hear me say this every week. Don't ask technical questions on Facebook. But,
Yeah, I was just going to say, John, I'll save my questions for when we meet up at the clubhouse, and you could point out things on the antennas, and we'll walk through it that way.
Well, okay.
I just want to say I'm looking forward to being able to go to see the antenna farm at the club too, because the more I'm learning now, it's all about the antenna. You can buy all sorts of different radios. It's the antenna.
That's correct. That's correct. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
You're gonna
It's all
spend
about-
you're gonna spend your money on something. Yeah, a good rig is great. It's essential. but your antenna, that spells where you're going to talk.
I'm not too sure about that. I heard a lot of stuff about cookie sheets.
But
No,
as an antenna, that's part of the antenna thing.
Ground plane, gotta have it.
I
High
may have to
quality
go buy one of
antenna.
them.
And if they have cookies on them, that's a bonus.
That's even better.
Well,
High quality antennas all use cookie sheets, Lou.
I just installed an antenna on the back of my aluminum truck and on an aluminum bracket, and spent some time with John.
LYP.
Yeah, LYP and Jeff yesterday morning that are some like antenna gurus. And we discovered that that bracket that I had it on, it was mounted on a piece of plastic on an aluminum truck with no ground, all these little things that we were able to discover from people who know a lot more about antennas than I do. So, every time I can get any of that little bit of information, it just boosts that signal up just a little bit more. I've broadcast twice since, in the week that I've had my call sign. But, my big thing is I don't want to broadcast and sound garbled. I want it to be clear and good. And that's what these guys are helping me with. And there's a lot of people in the Meriden Club that do just that.
Very good.
Yeah, those are two really good ones. You're in a good group of people. I mean, I think probably every club's probably got good people in it as well, but there's a lot of experience here that people are willing to share, and it's certainly a good time to draw on that and learn a lot yourself. That's how I started, and I've been in electronics for 40 years, but RF stuff was completely new to me according to what my professional field was. And I learned a lot from John. I learned a lot from this John here, and a lot of the people you see on these Hollywood squares.
Yeah, next time buy a Chevy instead of a Ford.
Hey, watch it.
Hey, I was talking, Brent.
It's a company truck. I can defend it. It's a company truck.
Brent, I'm the one who talked to you this morning on the repeater when you were looking for John.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
I know. And I was glad to talk to you. And it was nice to hear that everything was loud and clear. That's what I'm going for. And, I think that when everybody can get back to being able to go to the Meriden Club on a Saturday morning, they'll have the experience like I had yesterday morning, and with probably a lot more people around.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have hands-on. It's always, it's like you can watch something on YouTube, but seeing somebody do it in person's certainly different. But
Plus,
yeah,
to Niels is a benefit.
yeah, this is working though pretty good in the meantime.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't want to endorse any Meriden retailers of ham stuff, but I get a lot of support from that too. So anything that you can get from John, there's always a lot of information. He's been very helpful. It's nice to be able to just go there and pick some stuff up because I can pick everybody's mind that's in there.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about Zoom. We can promote those guys because, on RF you're kind of limited in a sense, but here we can promote Quicksilver Radio.
Oh, you guys can talk about it all you want on the air. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
You're right.
I've been there about 3 times in the past 2 weeks and walk out of there with great information every time. So, anything that anybody needs for an antenna to get going, I'm sure can get that information there and be on the air in good order.
Good.
Well, thanks for your kind words, Brent. I hope you're having fun with it.
Well, like I said, I broadcast twice today, and I met Jim this morning looking for John. So I guess that's how it works.
Well, you won't do much talking if you don't get on the radio and start squawking, I guess. I just made that up. It just came out. But yeah, if you get on the radio and call now and then, on the repeater, good, if somebody's listening, it's a good chance they'll come back. Of course, there's not always somebody listening, and that's part of the problem. It's not that people are ignoring you. There just happens to be nobody there.
Yeah, just making your call sign once in a while. That's what I do.
Speaking of getting on the radio, I have to drop off. If anyone's interested, the WestCon traffic net is starting now on 145.41. 145.41 with the PL tone of 141.3. I'm going to be passing some traffic that I got on Saturday. So if anybody wants to hear what a traffic net sounds like, 145.41 and PL tone 141.3. So it's good discussion, gentlemen and ladies. I have to leave.
But you're lucky I didn't mute you. That sounds like you're trying to draw people out of the Zoom room.
Well, it's 8:27. You got 3 minutes.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no,
gotta
no.
jump out too, so
All right. Or if you can talk till 10.
talk till 10.
Enjoy.
We don't pay
Take
by
care,
the minute.
guys.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And I missed the space shuttle going by too. It's 8:30 already.
See everybody.
Bye.
I
See you
did
later.
notice that with people calling out, it's like the first day I had my license, I picked up people no problem. And then I haven't heard anyone, or if I did, it was at 5:30 in the morning and waking me up. But I've tried a few times in the past couple of days. It's like, just must be my timing compared to other people that nobody's around.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, because you got to remember, we get on when we feel like it, when it's convenient, when we want to do it. And I should point out, we don't broadcast. That's what commercial stations do, and they have regularly scheduled hours, and they're always on and everything. We're not broadcasters. We go on as it suits us. So this is why you get this sometimes on, sometimes off. Sometimes you can turn your radio on and everybody's chattering away. Other days, it's like, where'd everybody go? Certain times of day, you'll get busy. If you're on 2 meters, you'll see a lot on the morning commute and on the afternoon commute. And in between, they're at work. They're not on the radio. So after a while, you kind of get the feel of the thing, and you know when the good times are.
I don't want to talk to anyone during their commute. I want to talk when the kids are napping.
also, when you get a radio that's more capable, you can pick up repeaters that are a little further out as well. So I used to, when I didn't live in Wallingford and I commuted further, I would chat with Long Island people because they were up early in the morning. So every morning on my commute, I would talk to these guys in Long Island. It was a real kick because, you know, I didn't know them, they didn't know me, but every morning we'd hop on the repeater.
I think that's the cool part about it is even the two guys that I managed to talk to happen to both have worked at Yale just like I did. So it's like instant connection. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you know, whenever you get someone that says, hey, there's a net going on, you're going to get a lot of people on there. And some nets are just bigger than others. We run a bunch ourselves. Ed runs the W1, what is it, W1YU net. There's a bunch of nets that go on a week-to-week basis. So you might want to do a web search on what nets are going on that you might be able to access with your radio, and just say, hey, this is the time when my kids are down, that I've got a little bit of time for radio. There's a net going on. Just listen in, see how it's run, make your call sign. You're probably going to pick up a lot of people wanting to talk to you as well.
So I guess I don't know what a net is.
So when Ed just left, so he's got to run, I forget what net is he running. He's running WestCon traffic net.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. So that's a net where they pass traffic, like handwritten messages that they they transmit over the air to other people in other parts, and it makes its way around to wherever it's going. They also talk about other things that, they're like just important to you and I. Like, I got no traffic, but I want to check in and say hi to everybody. So, you get to hear from a lot of different people, and you realize we're just a bigger community. It's just done by RF radio.
Kind of like, I shouldn't quote television but kind of like bush radio, like this is how you're gonna get a hold of people
Yeah.
is through these nets. Okay.
Right. A net is a focus point where a lot of people like tune into the net. They may not actually make a transmission, but you can guarantee probably for every one that you hear on there, there's probably 2 or 3 others that are just listening in that day. You know, and
Well,
if you hear a new person on there, there's a lot of people that come out of the woodwork to say, "Hey, welcome to radio, and my name's Bob or Rob or whomever."
Yeah,
Gotcha.
if we weren't on Zoom, but we were doing this on the radio and we scheduled it just like we do every Sunday night at 7:30 on the radio, that's the net. That's the Elmer
Right.
net.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
we're just basically doing a net on Zoom.
And Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also different types of nets too, right? Like there's Skywarn nets where people just report on the weather. And it's a little bit more of like an exercise for if there is a major disaster. Like typically these nets are, all right, does anyone have any major news?
Yeah,
Or am I thinking about that wrong? Am I mixing things up?
No, you're right about that, Jeff. It's and Judy, that's an important thing. When we talk about like a traffic net, that's a directed net. Like we have a net on Saturday mornings called the Coffee Cup Net. It starts at 9 o'clock. It's on the repeater that we're all used to, 147.36. And it's a directed net. It's not a too formal net, but it is directed. Ed runs it, and we usually have about 20 people checking in. And it's just basically club members and people that are not in the club that just want to maintain contact with each other. Just a way to get your call sign out there. Say, hey, here I am. I'm here. This is what's important to me today. This is what I'm doing today. And, back to net control. But yeah, there are. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for recording this.
It's done. I'm sorry. Somebody had a question?
As soon as she stops laughing. Yeah.
So does this usually go to like around 8:30 on Sunday night, or is it?
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
an hour. So I guess we're a
Okay.
little overtime, but
Yeah, I had some other stuff, but I'm going to save it for next week because it's not urgent. I don't even have a radio yet, so. No problem.
Oh, I did notice, I think I tried to pick you guys up, but I can't, and I think it's because of sleeping giants in the way.
well,
I
you're in
think I've got-
Bethany, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'm
Or
just over the
Bethany
hill. I'm just over the hill from you. I'm here in north end of Hamden, where the Channel 8 TV tower sticks up.
yeah, and Banham or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'm just off of Shepherd Avenue, and
Yep.
I'm right in there. I pick
Yep.
up the repeater full scale with no problem. And I can do it with a handheld standing in my driveway. And I've got a few hills between me and the repeater also. So the thing is, you might need a little bit better rubber duck antenna, quote unquote, or use the portable antenna on some type of a metallic surface other than aluminum, of course. Then that's usually all it takes. And I have an old Yaesu FT60, and that's been around for eons, and I only run 5 watts with that. But with the original rubber duck, it was a little bit tough to reach the repeater for me. So then I went and I got one of these things, the floppy things. But there's a bunch of them out there, especially on Amazon or eBay, and they're getting very cheap. Most of them are coming from China now. But that's usually all it takes. Anything is an improvement over the standard antenna.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find that out.
Does John have?
Just try one.
John,
I'm
do you have
sorry.
that in your store? I was asking John if he has that antenna in his store.
Well, I'm sure he does.
Actually, I have one that I like better. It's I don't have one here, no, but it's very, very thin, very flexible, but it works great. And I do have them in stock. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll stop. I'm in Cheshire, I'm kind of at a low point. So when I get my radio, I don't even know if I'm going to hit the repeater in Wallingford or not.
If that's the same antenna that came in your Hamo can, I turned your Hamo can on and was booming out and receiving everything sitting inside my truck.
Yep, same antenna, Brent. Yeah, Lou, just give a call, make sure I'm gonna be there, but yeah, it'd be great, come on over anytime.
Yeah,
And Lou,
love to
you
see
said
it
you're
today.
in Cheshire?
Yeah.
Yeah, the repeater antenna is halfway almost into Cheshire, so you'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah,
What
I'm
is
right
that?
behind Norton Farm.
Yeah. And Judy, are you in a valley in Bethany? Where are you? Because I was looking at a map and maybe it's kind of south, north, valley. Maybe
If you Google map Bethany Fire Department, Bethany Volunteer Fire Department, I'm probably 10 feet lower grade than them.
Uh,
You okay?
It's where the old airport was.
Oh, that's pretty high.
Yeah,
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 you should be able to hit the repeater. I think it's
Yeah.
probably an antenna issue.
yeah.
yeah.
hmm
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
not-
I'm
you're
where
not far
the
at all.
Bethany Airport is.
Judy,
Okay.
can you hear the repeater? The W1KKF repeater?
I don't recall now. I don't know if I reprogrammed that in.
Okay,
I think I
that's
can't remember.
fair. It's not necessary now. I'm just saying if you can hear it, but you can't make it, then that probably tells you it's just an antenna thing.
Yeah, I don't think I. No, I don't have it programmed in right now.
Okay.
I'll reprogram it in tonight and see if I can catch it tomorrow. Maybe it was just a fluke that day that I just didn't hear it.
Very good.
All right. I gotta get chores done, so I'm gonna get out of here.
Okay, it's a good
Thanks,
time,
guys.
Dan. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Good to hear you. See you on here.
Yep. See you. Bye.
See everybody on.
Thanks for coming by.
I'm going to take off too, guys. I appreciate your help. Have a good night.
Aries is Meriden is Aries Region 2.
All right, Brent. See you. Good night.
That question was from Sean.
Yeah, thanks. I was actually playing with a DMR thing, got wrapped into the net. It just kind of like lit up on the thing, so I know it's working.
Cool.
All right. Well, have a good night.
Take care,
All right,
guys.
good night, all.
I have a
Good night.
question
night.
for Bart, actually. You got your ears on, Bart?
Yes, sir.
So when these pumpkin competitions happen and they have these like big 500-pound pumpkins, what do they do with them after? Do you make these giant pies? You roast all the
Things you
seeds?
can do with a pumpkin. Most of the time, they don't make pies out of them because we use too many pesticides. And the pesticide bottle says not to use more than 3 times a year, 3 times a week. So no,
That's how they grow so big.
they're not fit to eat usually. I mean, we don't go that crazy, of course. It depends on what the pumpkin looks like. If it's a nice looking pumpkin, sometimes we sell them. People buy them for displays, and the pumpkins go for $1 a pound or better. The other thing we do is we don't do it here, but they do it in a lot of other places. Is you turn the pumpkin over and cut the bottom out, scoop out all the stuff, put it in a pond or a lake or a river, and have a regatta.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, you can sit in it.
Pumpkin regatta.
You could paddle. You could make a boat out of it.
Oh yeah, we had a guy who lived in Durham who put one out in the Connecticut River with a little electric trolling motor.
Oh my gosh.
That's incredible.
There was a guy in France who had a really big one and put it in a pond on his property. I guess he had a farm, and I think he had 12 people in the pumpkin.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, take some of the seeds to Chernobyl and be twice as big next year.
Hey, I got one of Bart's seeds last year, and of the 4 plants that propagated, one lived and grew a 40-pound pumpkin before something got to it underneath it. So, and I'm hoping I'll be able to buy some more seeds this year. I don't want, you gave them to me last year, and I don't want you to give them to me. I'd like to buy them from you.
I don't sell seeds. That's sacrilege.
Oh, come on.
Granted, there are people who sell seeds, but in the real spirit of giant pumpkins, we always give seeds away. So I will give you some more seeds, Rob. We got plenty of time. I got some fresh seeds from a bunch of growers in Vermont just the other day. So I have to do something with them. So I'll give you fresh seeds, but you got to get something under the pumpkin.
Yeah, I know that now.
We-
I'm learning. Hey, you know what?
I'll catch you guys later. I gotta fly.
See you.
Take it easy,
See you, Ed.
Yeah.
Well,
did-
I'm
What we actually want is the seeds for the magic beanstalk, so we can plant those and then put our antennas up on them.
What?
I'm actually going to turn into a pumpkin here too. So good night, guys.
All right, good night, John.
I thought
Thanks,
you
thanks for all
already
your
were.
info.
I thought you already were pumpkin.
Yeah, something like that. All right, 7-3 all.
Doodaloo.
I work with a
If you
good
really
guy
wanted
here
to buy
in,
pumpkin seeds, I should have sent you to the pumpkin seed auctions.
Pumpkin seed auctions.
Oh,
The clubs have auctions and they auction off pumpkin seeds to raise money for the clubs. And I have seen a pumpkin seed go at auction for $1,810, one seed.
Jesus.
Wow.
Was that yours?
No, it was not mine.
He wishes it was.
Does that seed taste a lot better if you roast it and put salt on it?
For $1,800, it better.
I work with a guy here in town that he entered the pumpkin contest there at the Durham Fair. In fact, he took the blue ribbon a couple of years. If I remember right, he was over 1,100 pounds.
I grew one. It was 1173 or 4, which was a state record at Durham one year.
Wow. Okay. This is Al Jones. You probably run into him.
I know Alan Jones. I know him.
Yeah,
He
he's a
he doesn't
pumpkin
grow
head.
anymore. Lives over by the power lines somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if that helps them.
Yeah, that's good for the pumpkins.
He hasn't grown in a long time.
Well, I found a good spot for him. So it gets a lot of sun. It's fairly warm. But I'm just going to be probably using a lot more lead this year to keep the little chipmunks at bay.
what, via the pellet gun?
Oh, I didn't say that out loud, did I? Yeah, something like that.
It's easier to do that than sprinkle them on the ground, you know?
I use a wrist rocket.
Just get like 20 cats, Rob.
I've got ball bearings about that size. All you got to do is hit near them.
12 gauge BBs.
Oh man, just bang and they're just like a mortar round, I guess.
I'm out of here. We'll see you, fellas.
See you later, Jim.
Yeah.
Take care.
You know what I learned, Rob? That you could put a 50 caliber round in a 12 gauge shotgun.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it sounds a little dangerous, but it fits.
Wow.
Could be fun.
I know that they make a handgun that's like 410 gauge 41. Or
Yeah.
What is it, 45?
But the 50 caliber inside a 12 gauge gun is called a hand grenade.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Joe would know.
Yeah. Sounds better on paper. Definitely
yeah.
Not trying it. Yep.
Neat.
Okay, guys, I'm going to say goodnight.
Good night,
All
Bart.
right.
Bart. We'll see
No,
you.
Been fun.
I'm-
I was glad
Yeah,
to see
Bart.
we had some New Ham show up and ask some questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was nice. I appreciate you responding with the locations. I'm going to take a look at that tonight before I go toddle off to bed.
Sorry about the long links, but
Nah, it's the way it is. Just I
the link
understand.
is like a paragraph long.
It's just a link. That's all. Oh, thanks for the heads up on the. Oh, what was that? I was a little confused in the beginning. I thought we were talking about the Heil meeting, but then we were talking about this thing. So I checked it. And yeah, you were absolutely right. They were wrong. I don't know how they got on there. So, but I
Well,
changed
we
them.
had somebody complain that they tried to get into the Elmer shack and couldn't last week. I've forgotten who it was, but that might well have been what the problem was.
I'm sure it was. It was the wrong one. I think the link that was up there on the calendar, I believe was. I'm going to have to double check, but I think it was for our business meeting. 8342. I remember 8342.
No, I think that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 link.
No, that's the 4252 link.
Oh, so it's simulcast. It was a
Yeah.
simulcast.
Simulcast, maybe. Yeah.
Hey, guys, I'm going out now. Take it
Okay.
easy.
All right, guys.
All right.
See ya.
Night.
Have a good evening.
See you.
Hey, Rob, real quick. The Bob Heil, how do you say his name?
Wow.
Heil, that meeting.
Yep.
Do you think there's gonna be more than 100 people?
I think there's going to be more than 100 people. I sent you an email earlier about that.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
That's all right. So I think what we want to do is, because I've already looked into getting our own account on it, and I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably prudent.
Mhm.
But I just think, because we're dealing with who we're dealing with, we need to give them a
Yeah.
long-term association with the change that's coming. So
Mhm.
I'd like to pay for April and May, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And then sometime in May, we'll make the changeover and put out new links, or
Mhm.
I'll probably establish the account before April and just have all the links set up so that we can just
Yeah.
have everybody change it
Well,
up. But
just out of curiosity, I mean, we didn't really talk about this, but technically you could just take over the account. We
I
could
didn't know
switch
if I
everything
could.
over.
I didn't
I
know if I could or
think
not. I
so.
didn't. I thought it might have been easier to do it the other way, but
Yeah, I'll look into it. I mean, I was looking at some stuff, just poking around a bit, and I said, I think we could just switch everything over.
well, if we could do that, then that's probably easier.
Yeah. Yeah, if so. We'll figure it out though.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, so for Heil, let's get that. What is it, 500? I think.
Yeah, it's like $8 or some shit like that.
Yeah, let's do something like that. So I think
Yeah.
we're going to get more than 100, because the ARRL is now carrying this thing on their website.
Mhm. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh geez. Oh,
Right.
that could be more than 500
Right.
if it's on their site.
I mean, if
Grief.
that happens, then we're just going to have to deal with that as it goes. But
Yeah, I'll look into it. I mean, I can't make the final call on this, but if it was like 1,000 people for $20, I'm sure that would be fine too, right?
yeah,
You
it would
know,
be
like-
fine too.
Yeah, I mean, geez.
You going to be available that night?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because Bob is requesting the spotlight, which is why I
Mm.
tinkered with the spotlight thing. But
Got it.
we
Yep.
might need more than one admin for that night.
Yeah, kind of like how we handle some of the other ones.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, no, I made sure I'm booked up on my work calendar for that evening. So
Cool.
or place it off. So all right. Cool.
Thanks again, Jeff.
Yep. All right. We'll talk to you, Rob.
Talk to you soon.
Yep. See ya.